I want to talk about stress today because we all know what it feels like to be stressed. It's not nice. And stress is linked to anxiety, depression, mental health problems. So I want to kind of unpack it. Now, I think stress comes about when there's too much happening too fast and it's out of our control. So I want to kind of unpack these three things today. One of the most stressful times in my life personally was actually becoming a new father. It's a beautiful, magical, lovely time, but it's also highly stressful because when you're a single lad, you just kind of look after your own needs, and then when you want to, you think about other people's needs. When you want to leave the house, it's a simple case of putting your shoes on, occasionally putting some pants on, and out you go, and that's it. It's a simple procedure. But suddenly when you have a child, you're tuned into all of the needs of this little baby, and they come out completely helpless and entirely dependent on mummy and daddy, to the point that you have to feed and clothe and dress them and sort it out when they poop, and suddenly there's a load of things going on. There's too much and it all happens so fast, and needs can present themselves so quickly. Any new parent will tell you that, and a lot of it is completely outside of your control. When you add to that the fact that you have a deep emotional investment and you care deeply for this little child and you absolutely want the best for them and you want to be an amazing parent, it can actually be really stressful. Now, don't get me wrong, it's completely magical. It's an absolutely adorable time when you have a little child, when you have a new life dependent on you, and you're just kind of intoxicated with enjoying this new life, this new member of your family. It's wonderful. But don't get me wrong, it's also stressful. Both of those things at the same time, wonderful and stressful. So let's talk about these three things. Too much happening too fast and out of our control. So, too much. In a lot of situations, we get to choose. Well, about to slip over there. There you go, too much happening at the moment. It's quite a slippery slope I'm climbing here. In a lot of situations we have too much going on, actually we can choose to take certain things out of it, and that sometimes takes some honest reflection. What have we taken on that's just too much? Just because we've got something good in our lives doesn't mean it's right, and it doesn't mean we need to keep doing it. And sometimes, and certainly I know a lot of people like this, we can overcommit ourselves doing good things. So I want you to reflect on your life. How do you fill your time? What things do you do? Do you find your life stressful in the day-to-day or the week? Do you find your schedule stressful? And are there things which, although good, aren't necessary, that you could either tone back or take out? So too much, happening too fast. Well, that's a consequence of there being too much things in too small a space. I love the illustration of a bucket with rocks. And the idea is that the bucket only has so much space, and you have to fill it with rocks, pebbles, sand and water. And the problem with putting the water in first is that you put the water in, and then as soon as you put any sand or pebbles or bigger rocks in, the bucket just overflows. So the moral of the story here is that you put the giant rocks in first. The giant rocks represent the things that are most important, the things that are urgent, the things that are profound and serious. You can't leave them out of your bucket. You put them in first, then you add the pebbles, and that kind of fits into all the gaps around the rock, and then the sand fills in the smaller gaps, and then just add the water at the end to just top the bucket up. And our lives are like this. We only have so much time. Now, you'll occasionally hear people, and I know I do it myself, will use the phrase, I don't have enough time, or I don't have any time. Well, it's not strictly true. God's given us all 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to live as long as we have on this earth. We all have a certain amount of time that we choose to give and invest in certain things. So what we're really saying when we say I don't have much time is we're saying my time is occupied by things that I think are valuable and I don't feel like I can take out. So going back to that original point, it's about stopping and reevaluating and thinking, what things can I drop, and not feeling bad, not feeling guilty, not letting people guilt you when you say no. It's quite hard, I think, for a lot of people who are listening to me, certainly the audience I have spoken to. I know you guys are invested, caring, considerate, kind people who want to make a positive difference in the world. But don't feel guilted by anyone. Don't let people make you feel guilty if you need to rein it back in, if you need to use the occasional N-word. By that I mean no, because that's good. Now, the out of my control is a final thing. So we've talked about too much and too fast, which are really quite strongly related. But the out of my control is another one which I think can cause great stress and great challenge. And I want you to kind of picture a thought experiment here. It's kind of concocted on the spot, so it's not like super clever. Don't expect some magic here, but I just want you to to visualize something. Imagine someone who is sat down and they're strapped to a chair, and there's a lot of things that they need to fix around them, and some of those things are within reach and some of those things aren't within their reach. Some of those things are in their control, they could reach them and fix them if they wanted to, and some of them are just too far out of their reach. No matter how much they strained or tugged at the knots, they wouldn't be able to change that thing, fix it, control it, even if they wanted to. It's just outside of their sphere of influence. Is it sensible to let those things across the room that you can't fix affect you when there are things around you that you can fix and there are things around you that you can deal with? Well, the obvious answer is no. But how much do we do this in life? How much do we spend time fretting and stressing and running through scenarios in our head and getting anxious about all of those things that are outside of our sphere of influence? God's given us things that we can change and that we can fix and we can deal with. But don't get stressed about the stuff that's out of your reach. It doesn't matter. That's not for you to be stressed about. And maybe one day someone will come and place it in your reach, and then that'll become your responsibility. But I would say that a lot of unnecessary stress and anxiety comes from us emotionally, psychologically and mentally taking things, or taking the stress of things that are over there and out of our reach, and putting them inside our sphere of influence, as if we could do anything about them when we can't reach them. So we're carrying the emotional burden of them, the stress and the anxiety, even though they're still over there and we still can't reach them and we still can't fix them. And this is what I mean by things being out of our control. So actually, the best way to kind of overcome this source of stress is to realise the difference between what you can reach and what you can't reach, what's within your sphere of influence and what's not, what you can fix and what you can't fix, what you can control and what you can't control. And actually, I think great peace and great relaxation comes about when you realise there's a boundary, and you realise there's that line, and you're okay with lack of perfection, and you're okay with not being the hero, and you're okay with not fixing every problem in the room, and you're okay with the fact that there are just some things that you can reach and do, and there are other things that you can't reach and can't do, and that's okay. So I want to encourage you to reflect on your own life, and I want to kind of use this as an opportunity to stop and think about my own life too. How can you rejig, rearrange, get the big boulders in first? Are there things that you can drop? Are there sources of guilt that would stop you dropping things that you feel are good and worthwhile? And also, are there things that are completely outside of your reach that you're taking a burden for, you're holding responsibility for, you're having anxiety and stress over them when they're not meant to be yours to carry? Jesus said this: cast your burdens onto me. Cast your burdens onto me. Jesus wants to take our burdens. He doesn't want us to be people who are walking around under a weight of anxiety. So that's my prayer for you guys today, that you will be able to cast your burdens onto him. You'll be able to reevaluate, reprioritize, recognize the difference between what can be fixed and what can't be fixed, and work out how to put the boulders in first. Right, I'm going to leave it there today. God bless you guys. Thank you for joining me. I hope this has been encouraging. I hope this has been useful, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.